Well, once again, welcome to Relationships Over Reps with Coach Rich Lansky and Coach Johnny Parker. How are you today, Coach?
Coach, I couldn't be better. Good to hear your voice
Good to hear your
and to see
voice.
that bright, smiling face.
Yeah, we're going to spare the audience by just keeping our pictures up there and not make anybody nauseous today, okay? So, again, the idea of this podcast, Relationships Over Reps, is really looking at authentic coaching and how authentic coaching can influence uh, us being successful coaches, whether it's strength and conditioning coaches or sport coaches, in working with our athletes. So, to kick things off, what is your view or your idea of what authentic coaching is?
Coach Bryant said this years ago. He said that good coaches coach football, great coaches coach people. And there's a huge difference. And
I
I've
agree with.
always tried to do that, but I think authentic coaching is not telling them that you care about them. It's being honestly invested in their success and doing everything you can to help them be successful, letting them know that they're important to you and that you're going to give them your very best. As you demand their best, they're going to have to give you, or you're going to demand their very, very best every day.
And I would agree with that. I think that goes back to the whole idea of the coach athlete relationship. It can't be a one way highway. It has to work both ways, where we put in and they put in, and the benefit is for them achieving their goals. It's interesting. I read a book by Martin Rooney recently, and he talked about the idea of the word coach. And if you go back to like a coach, a traveling coach, like a horse-drawn carriage, a coach gets you
Mm-hmm.
from one place to another, right?
Right?
Well, as coaches, we help our athletes get from where they are to where they want to be. But it can't be just us. It has to be them putting work in and effort in and being invested as well as us being invested, don't you think?
Absolutely. Oh, of course. Of course. And, Coach, I think you have an overall plan of how you want to coach your players or your students, but you have to have a game plan for each individual. And I did that even back 50, might have been more than that, maybe about 120 years ago when I was teaching ninth graders. I had a game plan for each one of them because some had no self esteem, others had too much self esteem, and then there were others right in the middle. But I think they all needed praise. But when one with low self esteem did well on a test, man, I raised the roof in my praise of them. And when somebody with high self esteem or too much self esteem did well on a test, I just say, hey, that's good. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So, um,
Well,
coach,
Coach, I would definitely agree with that. And when you talk about what you're supposed to be doing, I think that brings me back to something I say every day when I'm in the weight room or on the field or in the classroom, that we've established expectations and there are standards, and those standards don't change. And it's our job working with that athlete to help them achieve those standards.
absolutely, absolutely, and do whatever it takes to keep them either meeting or approaching or exceeding those standards. And so, coach, my feeling was this that one, I owed them my very best every single day. I couldn't have a day where I just kind of mailed it in. And, sometimes a player would come up to me and say, hey, coach, I don't know what I'll be able to do. I couldn't sleep last night, or my wife had the flu, or whatever. I don't know. I'll try. And I would tell them, hey, look, let me tell you, I know what you're going to do. You're going to have the best workout that you've ever had in your life. And sure enough, a lot of times they did it. They did
That's
exactly that. And so it's certainly, there has to be a standard that they all have to meet in terms of effort and but sometimes you had to intervene and get them thinking the right way so that they would, get back up to your standard for
And I think at that same time that they should just be justified in expecting us to maintain a standard as far as what we put into them in terms of
them.
effort, in terms of
Absolutely.
preparing ourselves, in terms of being ready for them, in terms of being invested in their goals, their dreams, and knowing what the hot buttons are.
You know, Coach, this about being invested in them. I tell you, the hardest day of the year for me in the NFL was final cut day. And there would be some kids that gave me everything they had in the off season, and they just weren't good enough. And when they would come by my office after being told that they were being released, Coach, my job was to nurture them, to pick them up. And Coach, I would start crying like a baby, and the players would have to say, "Coach, you all right?" And I'll tell them, "No, I'm not all right because you gave me everything you had, and I couldn't get you over the hump to get you on to help you make the team." And um, I'm not saying that influenced anybody. Probably made them think, "Well, sissy I was," but I couldn't help it. I couldn't help
Actually,
it.
Coach, I think when we show that we're real people too, that we have ups and downs, I think that goes a long way with these athletes. That's one of the issues I have with the old authoritarian coaching style, where it's my way or the highway. I do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, we're not training robots. We're training
Yep.
people. I had a
Yep.
question. You talked about, let's go back to motivation. How do you think authentic coaching influences the motivational level of your athletes that you've worked
Coach,
with
I
over the
think it
years?
has a great influence because, Coach, one, when they know you believe in them, then that makes them maybe take a new look at themselves and think, "Well, gosh, he thinks I can do something." Hey, Coach, and I can already see improvement, so I'm going to do whatever Coach says. But I, um, then when you make them feel special, and that's what your obligation is to every kid, make them feel special, then they expect more of themselves. They say to themselves, "Oh, Coach Lansky thinks I can do something here. Man, I can do better than what I'm doing. I'm gonna study more, or work out, pay more attention to technique." Wait a minute, Coach. Come in. Everything in the world
Go ahead, Coach.
is this authentic coaching has everything in the world to do with motivation because once they know that you care about them and that you believe in them, then they start to expect more of themselves. And once they do that, you can expect even more of them.
Yeah, if I can
And
get
so,
I believe that if I can get 53 guys on the team all believing in themselves with high expectations of themselves, we're going to be a powerful team to contend with.
absolutely, they'll be hard to stop. But coach, eh, not yet.
Sam's asking, so.
All right, I'll
Or again, so coach, we're talking about the motivational levels. How about motivating us as a coach? I know that when I had a kid win a state title or win a national title or make an international team in weightlifting or, win a state title in wrestling or in football at the high school level, you know, I kind of felt like I was motivated. I was motivated not so much because it's a pat on my back because I helped this kid, but I was motivated because here was a kid that trusted me and he worked hard, and now he or she has achieved their goal, their dream sometimes.
absolutely, coach.
And that gave me more
Absolutely.
motivation to come back next year just as invested in them.
No question, coach. And, you know, uh, when you care about the kids and you don't tell them, you show them. You show them. And it sinks in a lot deeper when you show them rather than tell them. But anyway, coach, when you do coach authentically and care heavily about the kids, then they get to thinking, well, man, coach thinks I can do something. I'm, you know, he believes in me. Nobody's ever talked to me like he has. He thinks I can actually do well in this course or in weightlifting or in this sport. And so, man, I'm gonna try as hard as I can because I don't want to let the coach down. But the ultimate is that Coach Lansky has got me trying as hard as I can, and I like that feeling so much that not only am I trying hard, my best in his class, I'm trying my best in everything I do.
Well, I
Everything
think
I'm trying to go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know as well as I do that, in my opinion, I should say this in my opinion, not you know as well as I do, but hopefully you would agree that intrinsic motivation, that type of internal motivation that athletes get or develop, takes them so much farther, not just in sport but in life, than external motivation. If all I'm after,
Absolutely.
if all I'm after is that first place finish at the track meet,
You know, Coach, first of all, I agree with everything you've said here ever since I've known you. So I don't even know what you got me on here for because I'm just a parrot kind of repeating you. But Coach, another thing, when you help kids eh, believe in themselves more, when you make them feel special, that's the key to me to the whole thing. When you make them feel special, they expect more of themselves. They expect more of themselves. And then, coach, then you can expect even more of them because now they've developed some ability or some belief in their ability to accomplish more than they ever did when they were, early on in the year. When they were just kind of getting through it and, doing the minimum,
trying to survive in some cases.
just trying to survive.
Well, that brings me to my
Coach,
next step. I wanted to expand on that a little bit because we talked about our expectations for them. A lot of uh, social media and articles talk about how, oh, we have to treat kids different. Kids are different these days. And my philosophy, my principles said that, one thing is constant, and we need to have a structure and we have to have standards and expectations, and we need to hold kids accountable to that so that they can achieve that. And that doesn't have to be done in an authoritarian approach. That can be done through athlete-centered coaching or authentic coaching. Do you want to comment a little bit about
yeah,
holding people accountable
Coach,
to the
let me give
standards?
you let me give you an example about what you said about kids maybe just trying to survive. When I was in
Sure.
Indiana University, we had a lineman named Bobby Itrola from Gary, Indiana, and he had decided that he wasn't good enough to play, and so he was just going to do enough to keep his scholarship. Well, one day during the off season, we're going over to the stadium to run. They dressed in the basketball coliseum, and then we walked over to the football stadium. And back then, we didn't have cell phones. There wasn't a trainer with you every step of the way. So our troller comes over to me when we're just about at the stadium, and it'd take me too long to run back to confirm what he's telling me. I mean, he had me there. He said, Coach Parker, my knee hurts. And the trainer said, I don't have to run stadiums. And coach, I was boiling. I was boiling. I didn't say a word, but I knew I had to think of something. So we got over there to the stadium and we stretched, warmed up. And then it hit me. I called him up. I said, guys, I troll his excuse from running stadiums because his knee hurts. But I troll him. I know you wouldn't want to be over here just watching your teammates work. I know you'd want to do what you could too. So you're going to wheelbarrow every stadium that they do. And, the wheelbarrow means somebody picks up your ankles and then you got to walk on your hands. and the top row was 106 rows in that stadium. And I think by the time we got through, that I troll had thrown up on every one of them. But I was back in Indiana a few years ago to consult, and they had a gathering of my guys, and our troller stood up, and he just said, "Coach Parker, I just want you to know that day you made me wheelbarrow those stadiums. You turned a boy into a man, and I want to thank you for it." You know,
Yeah.
Coach, I mean, that warmed my heart, and that just verified so many things that I believe in, and that obviously you believe in. And, Coach, just to let him stand there and watch, Coach, I mean, there's no way that was going to happen.
Sure.
So, anyway, Coach, and guess what, Coach? The next day was a squad day, and his
Yeah.
knee had miraculously healed overnight, and he squatted, just prescription that we had for him.
Nice. Well, I do think that sometimes, even if they may not like it at the time, kids
Oh,
crave structure and they need to know the boundaries and they need to know expectations. They may test those boundaries, but in the end, they want to know where they stand and they want to know where you stand. And if you guys, the two of us, can come to an understanding of that, like I expect this from you, and I know you can do it, and I'll be proud of you when you do it, but you need to give me that consistent effort. I think you have a lot longer chance of, or a lot larger chance of success with that athlete, whether it's in terms of their development as a person or the development as an athlete, or hopefully both.
well, Coach, first of all, when you said, guys try to, get around the rules, bend the rules without breaking them or what, I've subscribed to Bob Knight's rules, his whole list of rules. And he, as you know, and everybody listening knows that Bob was a severe disciplinarian. Well, here were all his rules. Number one, don't do anything that I might not like. End of rules. Because there are no loopholes there.
No?
And they were scared to find out what would happen if they did do something that that he didn't like.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
One of my favorite lines when I have to address language sometimes with our incoming freshmen is I say, "My weight room, I want you to consider it the same as if you're in church on Sunday or at Sunday dinner and grandma sitting next to you. I want your best
Yeah, that would
behavior."
change the language a little bit.
Yeah. So, but again, knowing your athlete and knowing the environment they come from, the demographics, the psychographics, their background, what the medical history is, what challenges they've had in their life, what aspirations they have. Those are all things that help us as coaches tailor our motivational techniques and our instructional techniques and our support. That allows us to do a better job of personalizing the coaching. And again, I don't want to coach 53 robots.
Absolutely not. I tell them, I would tell particularly the pros, I would tell, look, I want you to be yourself, just so long as it's your best self.
There you go.
And then, coach, they got to have music to live by. It ain't impossible to live without music. And I tell them, okay, you can have it, but I control two things. I control the volume and the language. And coach, I can tune out about anything. But two or three times I noticed, man, they were all grinning at me. I thought, what the heck? You know, I, and then I thought I tuned in to, mentally to what was being played, and it was something like riding dirty or I'm in love with a stripper or something, something that was not appropriate.
Not
And
Sunday
I didn't
morning
want to
music.
do it. And coach, so I would just walk over to the sound system, and the player who owned the CD was being played would come running to the coach. Come on, coach. I'm just playing. Come on, coach. Don't do this. I'd say, Dad, look, calm down. I'm just gonna hand you your CD back, and I would hit eject. CD would come out. I would take it, fold it in half, and hand it to him.
Yeah, that way it fits into their pocket.
Absolutely. That's right.
But
Doing them a favor.
I guarantee they didn't try to do that again to you.
No.
They learned the boundaries.
Yeah. Well, coach, and those boundaries have to be straight lines.
There we
They
go.
can't be blurred. They can't be
No,
wiggly. They got
and
to be straight.
they cannot apply differently to anybody on the team.
Nope.
I need my starters being held to the same standard as my 50-50-50 guys. You know that. And because
Absolutely.
you never know when one of those 50-50-50 guys, or that guy who's on the practice squad, or that guy who's fifth on the depth chart, you never know what happens to a ninth grader when the wonderful world of puberty and 3 or 4 years of strength training and speed training kick in. All of a sudden, that kid took somebody's job this senior year, and he's going off to play college ball.
Well, coach, you can take pride in that, in his achievement, and in him probably changing his life. The same token, coach. Here's the thing. I believe, and might be wrong, but I believe when you change their focus and their effort in the weight room or in the classroom, that they become better people, because the same principles that apply to trying harder in the weight room, they apply to trying harder in English, or trying harder to be a good son. I don't. I think that change in habit, change in self expectation in the classroom or in the weight room really affects all corners of your life. Does it do that every time? No. But when you talk to them about it, do they agree? Yes, coach, I know I've got to cut out this, or I've got to not do this. I understand, coach, and coach, stay on me. And I said, well, look, you're a grown man. You stay on yourself. But I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I'm not going to hear it. Oh,
Well, here's one for you that goes back to what you were just saying. You're familiar with the New Zealand All Blacks, I'm sure.
yes, sir.
Rugby team. Well, in the book Legacy, the author talks about when they had a shift in how they were going to approach constructing their team, as far as not just talent but character, and it was better people make better All Blacks. They recruited character, determination, work ethic. They recruited those things first. And there's a lot to be said. I think you and I have talked a little bit in the past about that time that John Wooden was asked about one of his teams, about how good they were compared to other teams. And his response was, I'll let you know in 10 to 20 years when I see what kind of parents, what kind of husbands, what kind of employers, what kind of employees they make.
Well,
if it's just about building muscles, I think we're in the wrong business.
absolutely. Absolutely. Coach Parcells used to say, of course, you have to have talent, but I'll take a little less talent to get the right kind of guy, which is, in essence, exactly what you were saying.
Yeah. So I'd like to close our session today by just going over a couple of, I call them coaching pillars. And next time we get together in a day or so, we can address a couple of these, but just some food for thought for the people listening too. And I call these pillars of coaching, or pillars of coaching philosophy. But these are things that I think we should expect of our athletes, and our athletes should expect of us as coaching. And they are accountability, reliability, dependability, availability, honesty, consistency, and effort.
Coach,
So
can I tell you
once
something?
again, we're looking at accountability, reliability, dependability, availability, honesty, consistency, and effort. So
Coach,
those are some
can I
things
tell you
that I would
something
like
there?
to look at.
I just exposed my own ignorance here, but I don't know the difference between any of those.
Well, I
Me,
think
they're all the
they're
same
all
thing.
part of the wheel. If we need to put wheels on the car, on the coach, to make it go from one place to another, I think all these things are part of that wheel, with coaching and athlete relationship at the center, and every one of the other pillars as spokes coming out to the wheel to support it.
All right.
So,
All right. I just learned something there.
well, I just came off the top of my head, so I hope it makes sense to everybody out there too. Coach, I want to thank you for your time. We're going to cut us a little bit short today, but we will be back in just a few days and want to talk about not just athlete-centered coaching, maybe address some self-determination theory, but also how authentic coaching helps coaches and athlete relationships withstand and flourish in the face of challenges. That'll be our next topic.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, do you have any words of wisdom to close us out by?
Yes. Listen to Rich Lansky and not Johnny Parker.
That's not a word of wisdom. Now, in all seriousness, for those of you who are just joining us, Coach Parker has had a stellar career in the field of strength and conditioning, working at the middle school, the high school, the collegiate, the professional level. He's got some of those big old rings on his fingers when he dresses up. He's done it all, and he's been a great mentor to me, and I appreciate his input over the last 10 to 15 years since I met him.
Thank you very much, Coach. I don't agree with that. I do appreciate it, and it's an honor to be included in your podcast.
I appreciate you. I will see you I will actually see you in a week, but I will be talking to you before that. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Coach.
Take care. You've been listening to Relationships Over Reps with Coach Rich Lansky and Coach JP, Johnny Parker, the legend. You all have a great week and be authentic.